Good morning, everybody. So welcome to day 86 of compassionate response to COVID-19 with my body. So I've started up some sessions now which are more kind of exploring themes again. So we've been exploring the internet and Buddhism and yesterday it was the war of the worlds between humans and computers and artificial intelligence, that sort of thing. That's something I've been interested in for a while. And something else I've been interested in for a while has been the difference between Buddhism and New Age spirituality. A lot of what people are interested in terms of meditation around the world is a kind of kind of New Age version. So I'll be looking at the origins of that and using this particular book, The Origin of Buddhist Meditation by Alexander Wynne. And we've got some kind of clues in here about about the origins, and also I'm referring to an article by Vishwapani, who's a member of True Ratna Buddhist Order, that he did a number of years ago, called Buddhism and the New Age, that's available in the Western Buddhist Review. So that's later on, but we begin by doing a bit of body work and meditation, and then get onto the topic. So if you want to stand up, we'll do some of that. Okay, so let's begin by just drumming with your fingers on top of your head. And rub your hands together, up your arms, pushing down your body, and then let's do some swinging from side to side. Get off of me, place here. Alright. Oops. So I think one of the central ideas to be exploring today is the way in which Buddhism deals with the world as it is presented to us. So with the four foundations of mindfulness, we're asked to bring awareness to our body and feelings, or feeling, pleasure and pain, our mind and mental and emotional states, and our views, and to look at those with awareness and to sort of see whether or not each of them conduces to happiness for ourselves and others. So we have this idea of skillfulness in Buddhism. So skillfulness is just any mental state. A skillful mental state is any mental state that in reality actually leads to the well-being of living beings. An unskillful mental state is one that leads to suffering in living beings. So we work with our body to try and relax the body, but also to bring it alive. So vitality is important, as well as relaxation. So this is why we do body work before meditating. We're kind of preparing our body for the work ahead, and in a way, meditation we see it as work. The Buddhist tradition talks of different meditations as kamatanas, or places of work. But in a way, it's not. It's like work we want our work to be efficient. So we want to get the maximum effect from the minimum effort, really. So meditation posture is about allowing the body to be natural, to just sit there naturally. We're not trying to hold ourselves up, force ourselves to sit up. We're just using the structure of the body to allow it to just rise up from the cushion or the chair, and then work with relaxation, which is like unfurling a fist, to soften the muscles of the body, and then this all gives us a good platform from which to turn our attention to other things, our feelings, pleasure and pain, mental states, views, all that sort of thing. So we work with what we're actually presented with. In a way, we could see the 4 foundations of mindfulness as being the sum total of what a human being is presented with in their experience. Some of which they have control over, and some of which they don't have control over, or can change. So in life, it's always like that. Some things are beyond our control, and some are within our control. And it's really important to know which is which. Okay, and then rotating our hips. So try to go to the 4 corners, the front, the side, the back, the side, being quite deliberate. And mind and body being together, so not having one ahead of the other. Listening to any sounds you can hear, both outside the room that you're in. Well, you might be outside in the field, mightn't you? I don't know. Outside where you are, and also inside. So again, we're trying to enter into a relationship with the world as it presents itself to us through our senses and through our mind as well. Mind is a sense in Buddhism. So I can hear the creaking of my belt as I turn around. So the more we can slow down and be observant about what's actually there in our experience, the the more grounded we become. And the more grounded we become, the more calm we can be, because we feel there's a ground there underneath us supporting us. In a way, a ground of experience, knowing what's happening, knowing what's there. Okay, take a few deeper breaths. So we'll do some shoulder rolls. So just begin by having your shoulders in the normal position, and then just gradually kind of start to raise them, and then sending them backwards, and then sending them down, and then bringing them forwards slowly, and then upwards, being very deliberate, and then backwards, and down, and forwards, upwards, and then backwards, and then other way around, so upwards and forwards, down, backwards, upwards, and forwards, and down, and backwards. Okay, just shaking. Bend your knees slightly. And shake everything out. Okay, so that should do. Bit of a limber up. And taking a seat meditation. So we're alternating mindfulness breathing, metta, loving kindness meditation. So today it's metta. So just settling into a new position, becoming aware of your body and the sensations in your body and the shape that your body's making. So in a way, inhibiting yourself from doing anything about your body, just let it just sit there, reflecting that it knows how to sit down. It doesn't need any help from your mind to do that. And having a sense of wishing freedom into the joints of the body. So the most important joint in the body is at the top of the neck, where the head rests on the top of the spine. So without doing anything about it, just having a gentle idea that that joint is free to move, so that your head can rise upwards towards the ceiling and slightly going slightly forwards. So it's like a kind of lifter, but you're not doing anything about it. Just having the idea. And having the idea that that there's a triangle between the centre of your chest and your right earlobe and your right shoulder. It's a triangle, and just having a sort of gentle suggestion to yourself that the sides of that triangle become longer. And then do the same on the other side, the centre of the chest, the left earlobe and your left shoulder, making a triangle, and having a kind of just a lazy sort of idea that the sides of that triangle become longer. We're not doing anything about it. And then imagining a line from between your right knee and your left shoulder. Again, without doing anything about that, just having the idea that line could just become a bit longer. And the same on the other side, from your right shoulder to your left knee. May the length of that line become longer. So we're doing a loving kindness meditation. So we're looking at our emotions towards ourselves and towards other beings. And so our emotions are something that we can change. There's a difference between feeling and emotion. So feeling is just something we're presented with, like pleasure or pain. And our emotions are a response to life, often a response to feeling, to pleasure and pain. And they're often about what we want. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to encourage ourselves to want our own happiness and to want the happiness of others. And we do that often by reflecting that what we are, so reflecting that we're a human being who does feel things, who is sensitive to their experience and doesn't want to suffer and wants to be happy and fulfilled. So if we can hold that idea of ourselves in our mind and fill it out rather than thinking of ourselves as some sort of object where we're just here to do a tick list or do a job or something like that. We're more than that. We've got this life that we need to manage and make the best of. So just filling out our idea of ourselves to be more in line with what the truth is about ourselves. And allowing that fuller vision of ourselves to help us to want to look after ourselves. So may we be well. Metta Bhavana. So trying to remember what it's like to be cared for. Maybe tuning into an experience we might have had where we felt somebody really did care for us, want us to be well. And see if we can't just cultivate that, something like that towards ourselves. Without overcomplicating it or worrying about getting it right. Sort of wishing ourselves well. And the second stage, we bring to mind good friend, somebody that they're just a friend, roughly the same age maybe, where there isn't any kind of romantic or sexual attraction there. Just to keep it simple, they're just a friend. And directing our kindness and care towards them, whatever kindness we've developed, may they be well. So maybe just reflecting that sometimes when we do the metta bhavana, what can come up is ideas of self-esteem. You know, we can get a little bit obsessed with self-esteem and comparing ourselves with others. And I think it's worth considering that, in a way, loving kindness has got nothing to do with self-esteem. So the word esteem comes from the word estimate, to measure. So it's like we're not measuring ourselves, we're not measuring other people. Our care is unconditional. It doesn't depend on our being anything or anyone. We develop the care because this is what we need as human beings. So may our friend be well. And loving kindness is an emotion, so all emotions can be either weak or strong. We can want something a little bit, or we can really want it a lot. Just having a sense of trying to increase the intensity of our well-wishing, our desire for our friends' happiness. Trying to really want it, really make it something that's important to us, that it happens. May they be well. Even imagining that we're standing behind them, leaning into their back and pushing them metaphorically towards enlightenment, towards happiness, towards well-being. Kind of helping them to want it for themselves. And any time you get a bit lost, just coming back to your posture, to just allow your body to naturally just sit there. Your crown of your head to rise up towards the ceiling. And dimensions of your body to become longer and wider. So now bring to mind a neutral person, somebody that we don't feel strong like or dislike for. They're just neutral. Directing our care, kindness towards them. May they be well. Again, just putting aside any comparisons that we're making between ourselves, our friend and neutral person. So all of that is irrelevant, because all of us just want to be well, need kindness, need care. Putting down any judgment about ourselves, other people. I just try to take in the neutral person as fully as we can. Make them a bit more three-dimensional in your imagination. Imagining the hopes and fears and successes and failures. So now in the final stage, just bring to mind ourselves, our friend and the neutral person. And let the care that we feel towards all three be equal. And then including other beings outside of those three people, people in the local vicinity, the young and the old. The skillful and the unskillful. The talented and the challenged. Not leaving anybody out, any being out. All of them are subject to change. Subject to the vicissitudes of life. Every situation has its benefits and downfalls. May they all be well. And including animals and birds and fish and insects. All life everywhere. That's all seeking out the direction of well-being, of happiness. It's all pointed in that direction, so looking for that direction, seeking that direction. May all life find that direction, find that fulfillment. May all beings be well. Okay, so bringing meditation to a close. Oh. Well, I feel a bit better today because I've been struggling a bit with my legs feeling weak and stuff. I had a long walk for 4 miles yesterday. Feel good after that. Okay, so today the theme is Buddhism and New Age spirituality, and yeah, so I think one of the aims that's emerged over the last couple of years for me really is to so in Triratna Buddhism, we've developed kind of ways of working together, like working in. They used to talk about the 3 C's: cooperatives, centres, cooperatives, and what's the other one? Communities. Yeah, as a way of kind of creating a nucleus of a new society. So Buddhists working together, living together, and putting on Buddhist activities together. So that was those ideas came about in the early 80s onwards, and were developed, and in a way they created the basis for our movement to get some strength and intensity about it, and then it's the Triratna Buddhism's gone through various phases. So it went through a phase where everything's getting kind of better organised, and the ordination process became something that's kind of more designed, and there'd be retreats that you'd go on, and there'd be an ordination team, and there'd be assessment and all that sort of thing. And so kind of more kind of intense sort of structures came about, and then I think after that there's a bit more of a phase where things became a bit more looser or something, a bit more, so in a way it's necessary to have all sorts of aspects to your spiritual life, and so you need an organised aspect to it. You need a way of relating to each other, and central institutions. Things need to have a structure to them. They also need to have a certain sort of creativity and freedom about them as well. So I think in the 2000s, things got a bit looser and a bit more, in a way, a bit more lay in a way. Buddha field kind of grew in popularity and that sort of thing. So I've kind of had this, and the symbol of the Tibetan wheel of life, which it's got this demon Yama who's holding up like a mirror to us and saying this is how things are, and that in the centre of the wheel of life are the 6 realms, the different sort of types of existence that can happen. The God as you could see them as either real or symbolic of mental states. So there's a God realm, there's a realm of human beings, there's a realm of jealous gods, and there's the hungry ghosts who are like the people, beings in addiction, and then animals, and then beings in hell. So the 6 realms represent those different worlds, and then the Buddha appears in each of the realms, with a different implement, and so he's helping beings in each of the realms, and so in the God realm he's playing a lute. So the idea behind that is the gods think that everything's fantastic, life is just perfect, and everything's working out for them, but the danger is that they think that that's permanent. So the Buddha's playing the lute of impermanence and saying, actually, no, it's not permanent. And in the hell realms, he's not teaching them the Dharma or anything. He's just giving them something that will relieve their suffering. And in the human realm, it's a begging bowl. So it's like spiritual practice. That's the remedy in the human realm. Where am I going with this? So I just sort of think that there's a bit of in Buddha field we've moved towards kind of address it or coming into dialogue with like New Age people, but in a way a lot of the spirituality around the world in the West can be a bit New Age, and so it's good I just want to sort of even speak to it a little bit, and sort of say, get into dialogue with it and sort of say, well, where's this come from? How can we relate to this? Or how can we tie it in with Buddhism? Or what's the difference between New Age spirituality and Buddhism? So in his article, okay, I've got going now. So in his article, Buddhism and the New Age, Vishwapani, he talks about there's a pastor at St James's Church in Piccadilly in London. So this St James's in Piccadilly has been a venue for all sorts of interesting talks that people give on spirituality, including things like men's movement and all that. So William Bloom, kind of offered a bit of a starting point for thinking about the New Age, what it is, and he gives a list. So I'll just it's a bit of a long list, but I'll just try and whiz through it, get the essence out of it. So the New Age creed, British New Age creed, is something like all life, all existence is a manifestation of spirit, of the unknowable, of that supreme consciousness known by many different names in different cultures. Right. So some sort of unknowable manifestation of spirit that's behind things. The purpose and dynamic of all existence is to bring love, wisdom, enlightenment into full manifestation. So it's love with a capital L, wisdom with a capital W, enlightenment with a capital E. So in a way, it's kind of, these things are kind of abstracted a little bit and turned into nouns, love, wisdom, that sort of thing. 3, all religions are expressions of this same inner reality. 4, all life as we perceive it with the 5 human senses or with scientific instruments is only the outer veil of an inner causal reality. The outer veil. All life is the outer veil of an inner causal reality. 5. Similarly, human beings are twofold creatures with an outer temporal personality and a multi-dimensional inner being, soul or higher self. 6. The outer personality is limited and tends towards materialism. 7. The inner personality is unlimited and tends towards love. 8. our spiritual teachers are those souls who are liberated from the need to incarnate and who express unconditional love, wisdom and enlightenment. Some of these beings are well known and have inspired the world's religions. I assume that means the Buddha is one of them. Some are unknown and work invisibly. 9. All life in all its different forms and states is interconnected energy, and this includes our deeds, feelings and thoughts. We therefore work with spirit and these energies in co-creating our reality. So it's all life is interconnected energy. 10. Although held in the dynamic of cosmic love, we are jointly responsible for the state of ourselves, of our environment, and of all life. So it's like we're jointly responsible for the planet. Think in terms of ecology, those sorts of ideas. 11. During this period of time, the evolution of the planet and of humanity has reached a point where we are undergoing a fundamental spiritual change in our individual and mass consciousness. This is why we speak of a new age. So during this period of time, the planet and humanity has reached a point where we're undergoing a fundamental spiritual change in our individual and mass consciousness. New age. What Vishwapani points out is that in a way this is a little bit of a kind of religion of the self. So experience, what we experience has been universalized with the substitution of a capital letter. So love with a small letter at the beginning becomes love with a capital letter at the beginning. Wisdom becomes wisdom with a big, So it's like it says this implies a substratum of existence which is unknowable and indescribable, but at the same time is crucial to the philosophy which follows, which is the cause of the vagueness and indeterminacy of so much New Age discourse. So it's like there's this kind of abstract thing that's there behind everything, love or wisdom or spirit, and in a way, people in the New Age are trying to contact that, so they may do sort of chanting, or they may, play kind of cassettes, so show me age, play sort of music tracks which have got, kind of whale music or ambient music, that sort of thing, or Native American music, that sort of stuff, Peruvian flutes, and it's all kind of trying to kind of tune into this this thing that sits like behind what we would call phenomenal existence, the existence, the normal existence that we have. So the outer personality is limited and tends towards materialism. So there's a critique here of like just the world of the material world is sort of seen as somehow limited, and so a lot of New Age people are quite left-wing, critical of capitalism, while often actually having quite a bit of money themselves, It's a bit of a fact. So it's like the world of the outer world is kind of seen as sort of somehow tainted, and the inner world is seen as the thing that's to be worked towards, that's pure and potentially, kind of life enhancing. This is Bishop Harney again. Organisationally, there's a deep mistrust of institutions and a preference for non-hierarchical models of operation, informed by a bias against rational thought or systems of belief and towards intuition and holistic paradigms. In practice, the extent of New Age eclecticism suggests that the particular activity of a New Ager suggests that the particular activity a New Ager chooses to participate in is secondary to the question of what they get from it, what it does for them, how it makes them feel. So there's a lot of emphasis on feeling. So you got this thing of like how I feel, and this spirit there in the background, or love with a capital L or wisdom with a capital W, that's kind of this kind of force in the universe, or that's ineffable, unknowable, something like that. And there is a bit of a tendency to in a way it's become a bit kind of consumerist. So I suppose like in a capitalist culture, in a consumerist culture, if you don't have anything else, if you've got no other values in competition with that, it's inevitable in a way maybe that it will become like that, it'll become consumerist, because there's nothing to substitute for it. So in Triratna Buddhist movement, it's like, well, there's a substitution for capitalism, which is this idea of communities, centres, cooperatives, people working together, giving, sharing their experience, and it's an alternative really to capitalism, which is all in a way about the individual, kind of looking after themselves or the people that they identify with as a group. So where does this all come from? Where does this come from? Well, if we look back at ancient Indian history, what we get is maybe something like 1000 BC or 1500 BC. You had these scriptures. Sorry about the noise. You had these scriptures written down. No, they probably weren't written down, but they're called the Vedas. So these were these are the sacred texts that have ended up influencing Hinduism. And the whole idea of there being something sitting behind phenomenal experience, which is separate from it, and which is pure, in a way, comes from this tradition. But in a way, it's a little bit there in most theistic religions. So in Hindu cosmology, the way this works is that you have in the cosmology, it's like the universe started with something called Sat. So Sat means being. So it's as if there was some sort of cosmic being there at the beginning of everything. Just pure being that didn't manifest in any way in as a world. But what happened was, according to Hindu cosmology, that being then sort of like decided to start manifesting, and so it's something roughly like this, So, the being manifested as space, or manifested space, and then the space manifested fire, and then the fire manifested water, and then the water manifested earth. So it's almost like the elements. The cosmological elements used to talk about earth, water, fire, and air, kind of start falling out from that kind of manifesting as a world, as a phenomenal world, and so in Hindu cosmology, you've got this idea of Brahman, which is like Godhead, or that aspect of the universe, which is beyond the phenomenal, which is just this pure being, and that also manifests within a person as Atman, which is the fixed self, the permanent fixed self that Hindus believe is there behind everything. Now, in Brahminical meditation, what the person tries to do is to kind of reverse the flow of the cosmology. So they try and meditate on dissolving the different elements until they end up with some sort of pure connection with Brahman or Godhead, or with the fixed self that's there behind, according to the belief system, behind all phenomenal existence, and this is represented by the phrase "Tat Svam Asi," thus thou art. So it's a bit like the idea is given that just as if you've got a load of salt in water, where if you taste the water, wherever you taste it, it'll taste of salt. So in the same way, where if you really look into things, wherever you taste your phenomenal existence, there'll be some fixed self there behind it. There'll be that is the real you. This is the Brahminical view or Hindu view. So, a Hindu ascetic would do something like this. It says, the body knows touch, the tongue tastes, the nose smells, and the ear sounds, the eye knows forms. Men who do not know the higher self do not grasp what is beyond them. Turning the tongue back from taste, the nose from smells, the ear from sounds, the body from touch, the eye from objects, that have the quality of visible form, then one sees the highest, one's own true state, which is this kind of fixed self. So this is the origin of the bed of nails, the Hindu sadhu sitting on a bed of nails, or doing some sort of self-torture, or you get people holding their arm up in the air for literally years until the arm withers away, So what they're doing is they're turning the tongue back from taste, the nose back from smells. They're trying to turn themselves away from being reliant on the physical world of experience, in order to experience this kind of purer, experience of a pure self, of Atman and Brahman. Atman on the personality level, and Brahman in terms of the universe. Now, when the Buddha learnt meditation, before he was the Buddha, he learnt from two teachers, Alara Kalama and Adaka Ramaputra. And it's very likely that these two teachers taught him this sort of meditation. They taught him this thing of like trying to reverse the cosmology and sort of get back to this fixed self. And what he found was he could do the meditation better than they could in the end, but he didn't find this fixed self in his experience. So he abandoned them. Then he tried other things. He tried self-mortification. That didn't work either. And in the end, he was forced to just try and work out, well, how do things work, within phenomenal existence? How does one bring about happiness for oneself and others? And that's when he started to just work with his actual experience, with the body he was experiencing, the feeling he was experiencing, the mind or chitta, mind and mental states, including emotions he was experiencing, and the views he was experiencing. So he worked with what he was actually there experiencing in the physical, in the phenomenal world, rather than something that's beyond it, this spirit or this love with a capital L, or wisdom with a capital W, that's kind of abstract and beyond his experience. So he worked out what love and what wisdom was in his actual experience. So he developed the loving kindness meditation. He developed Buddhist insight into how things actually are. So he saw that things were impermanent. They didn't have a fixed self. There was no essence to them beyond what one experienced, and they were inherently subject to disappointment, dissatisfaction. Things wouldn't give us what we wanted in the end. They will always fall short. So it was in accepting those three marks of conditioned existence, called the lakshanas, that he developed a kind of wisdom with a small w, not an abstract big W in the background. Beyond, it was like he saw how things actually are, and that was how he was able to gain enlightenment. So in the Buddhist tradition, if you look into the scriptures, they talk about the scriptures talk about higher states of consciousness called dhyana, and so there are four what are called dhyanas of form: first, second, third, and fourth dhyana. So these are states that we can get into, the combination of bodily and mental states that are productive of the skillful mental states. So that's how they're defined. The first dhyana is developed in seclusion from unskillful mental states and sensuality. So it's like we're no longer relying on the world of the senses to give us happiness. You know, we're not dependent on sense experience. We're kind of more reliant on inner things like the joy that comes from actually being skillful. You know, so something good happening in life to people, and you feel good about that. You know, you feel happy because people are becoming happier. So this is what's called a spiritual feeling, as opposed to a worldly feeling, which is one which is more to do with the senses and gratification of the senses. So look, when you feel happy that somebody's doing well, that's a form of happiness that doesn't have a downside, you know. Where was I? I'm lost again. So you've got the four jhanas. Jhana just means meditation. So you've got the four jhanas of form. But you've also got in the Buddhist tradition the four formless jhanas. So in the Arya Pariyasana Sutta, which is supposed to be one of the earlier texts, after describing the first four dhyanas, what I described the four formless dhyanas. So then again, the monk, with the complete transcending of perceptions of physical form and with the disappearance of perceptions of resistance and not heeding perceptions of diversity, perceiving infinite space. So this is the first of the formless jhanas. So the monk enters and remains in the dimension of the infinitude of space. So this isn't something that's about being skillful, is it? You know, it's not about how can I benefit myself and others through my actions. This is something that's cosmological. It's about infinite space, you know, trying to intuit infinite space. And then the second of the formless jhanas is enters and remains in the dimension of the infinitude of consciousness. So it's like infinite consciousness. Again, it's like this isn't something about my actual experience, what I can actually do to help myself and others. It's something else. It's like it's cosmological, infinite consciousness. You know. Third formless dhyana, the monk enters and remains in the dimension of no-thingness. No-thingness, you know, there's no particular thing there. In a way, you know, maybe it's relating to, you know, the fact that, you know, everything is kind of interconnected and affecting each other, so you can't isolate one thing over another thing. But again, it's like it's almost it's about perception and you know, it's about the way things are. It's almost like a description of the way things are, rather than about what actually do I need to do to lead to benefit myself and others. So again, it's cosmological, I think. And then the last one is the dimension of neither perception nor non-perception. So Alexander Wynne, in his Origin of Buddhist Meditation, this is quite, I wouldn't recommend getting this book. It is very, very complicated. But you know, what he says is that he thinks that the formless dhyanas are not Buddhist in origin. They're Brahminical in origin, or you know, in a way they're Hindu, and you know the but the first four dhyanas, the dhyanas of form, they're purely Buddhist, you know. So it's just a note for people who keep, you know, Buddhists who keep saying, oh, you know, yeah, there's the 8 dhyanas and stuff. So, you know, so I think what happened was, or what has happened is that the Buddhist tradition has just like the Buddhist tradition, even though it doesn't kind of believe in creator God that lasts forever. You know, the Buddha is an awakened human being who has seen how things are. But still, there are gods in Buddhist cosmology and in the Buddhist scriptures. In a way that the gods are representing a different view, more like the Hindu view of things, and it's being contextualized within the Buddhist view. So, you know, in Buddhist cosmology, the gods are impermanent, and the Buddha is teaching them impermanence. So, in the same way, it's almost like with the 8 dhyanas. It's almost like the you know, Vedic Brahminical meditation has been contextualized within Buddhist meditation, so it's been put there, you know, within the system. So you've got the dhyanas of form, you've got the formless dhyanas, then you've got enlightenment. So enlightenment is beyond the formless dhyanas. So that's a way of explaining it. So how does all this relate to the New Age? Well, in the New Age, it is almost like, I mean, what falls out from Hinduism, from the Hindu view of things, is that some things are more pure than others. So it's like you end up with a caste system whereby the Brahminical priests are seen as purer than the lower castes, because they're closer to Brahman. They're closest, you know, and they're the only ones who deal with the scriptures and things, or recite the scriptures. And even within their lives, then certain things are seen as polluting. So it's like if they come into contact with a dead body, then they have to go and purify themselves before they can go in the temple or something like that. So there's this whole idea of that some things are pure and some are not are impure, and I think what this leads to a kind of inequality of opportunity. In fact, quite a severe inequality of opportunity, in that some levels of Hindu society are not allowed even to go into temples or have any contact with religion, and are seen as were seen as untouchable. So this is kind of the complete antithesis of what Buddhism says about all beings. All beings have the potential for Buddhahood, you know, and need to be given the conditions that are going to help them attain that. So I think that having an idea that there's this abstract thing that's beyond our phenomenal experience, it tends to lead to a sort of some sort of stratification of society, where some people are closer to the truth and those are further away from the truth. And maybe like what happens with the New Age is that some people feel like they've got to stay separate and in this sort of spiritual world of meditation and you know, listening to CDs of, you know, that are going to connect them with that spiritual world. But Buddhism says that actually what's important is what we're actually doing with our lives, and how are we bringing about happiness for ourselves and others, you know. So it's a practical, hands-on, you know, rather than a sort of standing off, you know, kind of keeping yourself separate, you know. So I think what can happen when people get too much into like New Age is that they stay in this sort of separate world, which isn't really connecting them with the vast majority of the ordinary people in the world, and maybe they end up can end up a little bit sort of not feeling kind of yearning for connection and things, and sort of desperately seeking something, and it's never quite fulfilled, and it's always this abstract thing that's at one remove. So I think Buddhism says that it is possible to attain nirvana. It is possible to within the confines of reality, that things are limited. That we can do the best we can do. Within impermanent. Within impermanent reality, to satisfy ourselves. We can become compassionate, we can become wise, and we can have a really full life, that involves engaging with others in a full, meaningful way, and being helpful, and practicing the precepts of loving kindness and generosity, and not allowing sensory experience to dominate us so that we harm others, being truthful and being mindful, and bringing awareness to the actual situation that we're in, and working with that. So it's like we're not, it's very clear the way forward, whereas in the New Age, it's like people get a bit obsessed with self-esteem, and how am I doing, and they're trying to sort of like fill the hole in a way, by kind of building themselves up, and I suppose it's not, I suppose people need to ask themselves, does it work? How much does it actually work? That isn't it endless trying to fill up ourselves, make ourselves more spiritual, or So I hope that that's given us a bit of a sense of where what the terrain is in terms of Buddhism and the New Age sensibility. So I've just finished with a quote from Sangharakshita. When Sangharakshita was giving talks in the 1960s and 1970s about Buddhism, and I think it was when he was talking about the third dhyana, and which is associated with the mystic. He says, to me as a Buddhist, terms such as mystic and mystical are in fact quite strange, even alien, not to say repugnant. And in writing about Buddhism, I prefer to avoid them. This does not mean that Buddhism is not connected with experience, but it does see experience, even mystical experience, does not see experience, even mystical experience, as an end in itself. When mysticism is turned into a philosophy, it becomes monism, the belief in an underlying unity between all phenomena within the context of a metaphysical absolute. Mysticism being the personal experience of such an absolute. Buddhism seeks to avoid all such absolutization and reification to understand experience in a broader, non-dualistic aspect. That was Vishapani, and then Sangharakshita again, one may say science represents an extreme of objectivity and reason, whereas mysticism represents an extreme of subjectivity and emotion. Science seeks to reduce the subject to the object, mysticism to absorb the object in the subject. Buddhism, following here as elsewhere a middle way, represents a dissolution of the subject-object dichotomy in a blissful non-dual awareness, wherein that which is exterior coincides with that which is interior. So it's like, so mysticism kind of reduces everything to subjectivity in a way, and that's partly a problem. But science does the opposite. So the middle way between subjective experience and being objective about the world is probably a good way forward, a middle way forward. Okay, thank you. It will be going online, and but will be on Facebook. Thank you. Okay, that's it. All right.